Welcome to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Circle, the simple and AI-powered rewards and recognition platform for employee engagement.
Everyone wants to be appreciated. It does not matter where you sit in the hierarchy, whether you're white or black, a man or a woman, a single mother or a family man, from the majority or minority. How you feel about yourself and your profession depends on how you are recognized. However, most companies that flaunt a widespread employee appreciation culture fail to make it inclusive. Here, it is important to remember that our workplace diversity and equality initiatives start with a great employee appreciation strategy. Hi everyone, I'm Shushmita and you are listening to Vantage HR Influencers Podcast, third episode of our Employee Appreciation series. Let me remind you all here that we at Vantage Circle are celebrating the month of March as Employee Appreciation Month. So in this episode, we'll talk about the link between workplace equality and employee appreciation. For the same, I have the pleasure of welcoming my guest today, a mindset speaker, agile coach, and an industrial and organizational psychologist, Enzo Ochoga. Enzo is a leading voice in women's empowerment and innovation. Welcome to the show, Enzo.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, Enzo. How are you? And how's everything?
I am doing good. Good morning. I know it's morning your time in India.
Yeah.
What's the weather like right now?
It's partly cloudy now.
Okay. How is this? It's cloudy and very cold here in Texas.
It's very cold. It's not that cold, but the weather is like very suitable.
Okay. I'm glad. Good.
Okay, Enzo. Let's start then with our topic today. But before that, would you like to tell us about your background and your professional journey till date?
Yes. First of all, before I even say it, I just want to say thank you for having me. It's such an honor, and I really love what this conversation will be about. I really appreciate what you all do at Vantage Circle, and what you guys bring out to your audiences is very profound and impactful. So thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Now, thank you to you for mentioning that.
Sure. So about myself, I don't really talk about myself. I think I said it before we started this, but I am more than my title and profession and all that. I am a human being who seeks, continuous learning and improvements. I have worked with software development team as a Scrum Master, have done project management. Now I'm a research scientist, which is, and they call us research scientists. It's industrial and organizational psychologist. I focus on employee motivation and well-being. So I partner with HR or companies, do the research, and ensure the organization is healthy and safe for all. That's what I do.
Brilliant. So coming directly to the topic now, Enzo, how do you like to describe employee motivation from probably from a practitioner's point of view?
Honestly, there's no need to really complicate things, right? These days we talk about, I don't want to make anything bogus because sometimes it could sound scientific. But first, I would just say, what is motivation? One of the easiest description of motivation that I love is motivation, because the question is for me, not your question. I want to start off before I answer your question by asking what really is motivation, right? And motivation is a need or desire that energizes behavior and directs that behavior towards a goal, right? It's something that energizes our behavior. And I think anyone listening, I just want you to hear that, because you and me would agree that that is motivation. And now is how would I describe employee motivation from my standpoint? I can say it the same way as employee motivation is all about support. It's all about the environment, what the environment adds. Employee motivation is anything that really energizes the mental, and that mental part of the employee is projected outward. And so that is what it is to me.
So, Enzo, when we talk about employee motivation, appreciation and recognition are two extremely significant and major factors, to keep employees move towards their goals. So what form of appreciation do you think rapidly enhances employee morale?
Very good question. I think we are all in a time, right, where we're trying to reimagine and redesign the workplace so that way it is healthy for the organization, which includes everyone working in that organization, right? And as human beings, we are people that seek meaning in life and elevation, right? We want balance. So when it comes to employee recognition, it is so vital that organizations show employees that they value and appreciate their invested efforts. No employee should be left behind. And personally, I have experienced how employees feel when management is part of the team and engages in active listening and activities and acknowledge their hard work. So when it comes to employee recognition, is really all about that connection, that human connection, right? I think each and every one of us, anyone listening here, hopefully knows that what motivating feels like, what that sense of when something motivates you, right? You know what it feels like, right? When we are appreciated by others, it motivates us, right? There's something that it does to us. And then saying thank you, just little things like being appreciated, saying thank you, giving sincere compliments, encouragements, giving rewards, sponsorship to career events and, support necessary mental health, programs that helps employees are all ways companies can use to recognize and show employees that they are respected and valued. They're valued in a way that, because, okay, let's look at it, right? If a child is trying to walk, right? A child is crawling and the child gets up and is running and falls down. The child looks back, maybe trying to cry. And then the parent is clapping. Hey, you can do it. The child is motivated to get up, right? We're still human, right? We want that. And then employee recognition really is all about showing workers that management,
right,
the company cares about who they are as people. For example,
that's a great example.
Yes. For example, you have some companies create team walk activities where you go for walks, you plan events that brings employees together, right? They take walks for the purpose of staying active and improving their well-being, right? And the same thing, I believe you guys have Vantage Circle, you guys also have devices, right? That support wellness, right? Imagine bringing that to the workplace and putting that as an incentive is motivating, right? And there's so many studies out there, even in Harvard Business Review, one of the studies was one of the things that they figured out from a study was walking, right? All these meetings, they call them walking meetings with employees, can help boost motivation, can help boost improvements, the health, right? It increases creativity by over 5%. When you walk with other employees, when you're chatting with them, it does something to us because humans, we are biologically wired for connections at the end of the day.
Right. Yes. So, Enzo, you have helped so many leaders and employees in your coaching sessions. So what are the major signs that you see in them and you know that it's time to rethink employee appreciation in the workplace?
I think for in that regards, I would focus on that one of the scenarios or rather issues that we had, and we formed this workplace, which I advise every company should have a well-being committee, in the organization where you have work-life balance committee or something, right? Where people come together, not just management, but also, different departments, they come together to figure out, hey, what's going on now? What are employees facing right now? How can we, what can we do to create a system that works? I would say based on what I've experienced, honestly, it's just ensure the organization is adequately staffed. Because one of the issues is, unfortunately, you have a situation where higher work demands that involve longer hours and sometimes can come with pressure and push employees to work harder and faster, right? Those type of situations leads to burnout. It takes a heavy toll on the health and well-being of the employees that I have worked with, right? And then so many studies, honestly, out there, and done qualitative studies and quantitative research that were done showed that when there is literally inadequate staff and the workload is so overwhelming on employees, it can lead to depression, cardiovascular diseases, high blood pressure. So one of the things is making sure that the organization is adequately staffed. Overtime, yes, sometimes. Why do employees do overtime? Most of the time, is because they want more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that necessary? What can organizations do to support them where they don't have to overstretch? A lot of employees are caretakers, are caregivers, to the elderly and children. And so the people that work in the organization and build the organizations are also human.
Right.
So leadership, all those things, looking at leadership, unlearning those bad habits and relearning and investigating what's going on and designing and developing different strategies and methods that can work for the type of organization. So yes, adequate overstaffing definitely is one of the issues inadequate staffing is one of the issues I've come across, and it leads to burnouts, so many long hours. That's what's going on in some companies, believe it or not, especially even you would think like after the pandemic with everything that has happened while we're still in the pandemic, you would think it will be a little bit different, but there's some companies facing it right now.
And now, Enzo, let's talk about equality in appreciation. So when we talk about equality, we have to talk about biases, and bias is present in almost every organization to some extent. So it would be great if you can explain how an organization can work on eliminating hidden biases so that people can give recognition, give appreciation fairly. At the same time, employees can receive appreciation fairly.
Well, first things first is leadership. I always say you have to look at leadership, because leadership is the forerunner of the culture in an organization, right? You find that many employees, as I said earlier on, they're caregivers, right? And imagine, let's look at a situation where, for example, one of these studies showed that you had a nursing home, that found that employees that had managers that supported them emotionally and were an extended compassion and empathy towards them. And those employees were at low risk. They improved their sleeping patterns, very low risk in cardiovascular diseases, right? So what that tells you is so important. And it tells us that leadership, right, has a great role to play right now when it comes to the reduction of biases, right? Because it starts from there. And I think there has to be a kind of system in place where, when you're doing, especially when you're doing audits or reviews, because I know sometimes the workplace can get a little bit political, right? And it can get, And, it gets, toxic competition can happen, so it's what is leadership doing to eradicate that, to reform that, right? And is the
basically it's a review for the leaders.
It's a review for the leaders. And what about this situation where when you do audits or, you do audits on employees trying to find out how they are doing so far in their position, right? And then what if you have a boss that doesn't really like you that much and his review on you is, not a very kind one, right? And so, this is a situation where what organizations can do, in my opinion, that is to create a feedback system. As a scientist, that's what we do as a research scientist, is create this system where you have, anonymous surveys, right? And you take feedback that is non-biased, right? And then you use that to measure the quality of behavior and performances so that you can get a more accurate result. So that's also one thing, is do like anonymous audits, right? That can really give a fair review on every employee and what they need to improve, right? And encouraging employees that fall behind, because human beings, we learn at different paces, and it's okay. It's not really about age. It's not even really about, because when you come into a company to work, you have to learn about the software, what they use. You have to orientate yourself, and you involve yourself in different programs. So it's understanding that some employees work in different paces, and for those employees, instead of dismissing them or treating them like they are less, create programs that train them, that develop them, that grow them into what they're supposed to be. But it needs to help them too personally, because if you have unhealthy employees, your workplace is not going to go far at all in profit, in anything.
Right. And in this line only, Enzo, I would like to know from you, how can employees deal with a biased boss?
Very good question. I think almost everyone, almost everyone has faced some sort of, bias. I would, bias situation in promotion, or maybe, you did the work and you turned in, you did the work, you turned in, everything, but then somebody else takes the praise and it's your boss. And,
This is the very common thing that happens.
Yes. That happens a lot in the workplace. Be bold. Let it be known, not to your boss. Usually, and I know there's politics again, but if we create a psychological safe zone in HR, that employees can feel comfortable and be protected confidentially by sharing information of their concerns about their leaders, that we can take into account and hold that leader accountable, investigate it. Do you know what it means for a leader to be investigated or examined after he's been there for many years? It does something to the leader. There's fear involved, right? And I know there's fear involved, especially when you do not know who is telling what. But when a thorough investigation and the company sees, the employee sees that, oh, wow, my company is taking this seriously, they have my back. Investigate it.
Right.
The boss, if he's still doing it, if he denies it or if she denies it, in my personal opinion, they need to be on a timeout. They need to be on a timeout. Some people might be like, it's easy to say, but there are many leaders. Let me give you an example of one leader that she was the former CEO of a mining company. And she was the first female in South Africa. She's an outsider, but she's not from South Africa. She's the first CEO of a mining company. And so every single year you had 46. It was normal in the mining industry for like 40 something people to die, right, in the mines. And she said not under her watch. And then when she came in to be the CEO, and they said I think a number, I'm not sure if there were less than 10 miners had died. And she said, shut it down. And for the first time in the history of the mining industry there in South Africa, that one of the biggest mining companies shut down their mines for weeks because they were doing an investigation. Leaders got fired. I'm talking about leaders that had very strong hold in that company. I'm talking about leaders that inherited the seat from their grandfather and all that stuff. So you have to make strong decisions. When a leader is bringing toxic behavior and harming the well-being of employees, he or she needs to be held accountable. There needs to be some sort of intervention. There needs to be a penalty. There needs to be sanctioning, whatever you want to call it. Yes. That is what I would say is I hope that there's a system employees should go to HR, should feel comfortable to report it and not be in fear that they will be, someone will tell on them or, reveal that, they said, or it will compromise their position.
We are almost moving towards the end of this show. So before we leave, we'd like to have some tips for our leaders listening to us on how they can overcome leadership biases.
I would say just something very simple, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, we are all human. We are all human here. Right. Somebody is somebody's child. Somebody is somebody's father. Somebody is somebody. You are someone, whoever you are. And at the end of the day, when we put employees first, when we put people first and surround ourselves by the right type of resources. When I say resources, I'm talking about kindness, empathy, generosity, and recognize that everyone here is here to be part of a team, right? I think things will improve. I think kindness, leading with the heart, before you lead with your head, changes every single thing. Emotion cannot really be something so profound without leaders. So we need leaders that are very inspired to be leaders. We need leaders that see employees as people. We need employees that are not afraid to create change, to take a step. And anyone who is going through any burnout, anyone who is going through any kind of career change, don't feel like you have been on this earth for too long and it's too late. Don't feel like you are too young. Anything is possible, no matter what the situation is. Find the right organization that aligns with who you are. That's at the end of the day, if you want to enjoy yourself in a workspace, make sure you do something that aligns with the things that you truly believe in, your values and your beliefs. Do meaningful work. And that's where I will stop.
Okay. So finally, let us know how our listeners can reach out to you, Enzo.
I am on LinkedIn and it's Enzo Ochoga on LinkedIn. Please send me a message. If I do not reply, I promise I will be back in a couple of weeks. I'm away from LinkedIn for now. LinkedIn is really one of my main spaces professionally. I put out a lot of videos and content that makes sense. So you can reach me there on LinkedIn, Enzo Ochoga. Find me. And ask me any question, add me. I'm very friendly. I'm not one of those hosts that would talk and be like, reach out and I never respond. I really do. When I get on LinkedIn, I will. So I'm here to help anyone, support you with any advice you might need, and keep learning, keep standing, and keep believing.
Thank you. I'd like to sincerely express my gratitude to you for sharing your expertise, ideas, and experience in this special appreciation podcast. So once again, Enzo, thank you for taking the time to join us.
Yes, and thank you so much. I really appreciate you, appreciate all the listeners and the employees who wake up every single day and do what they do best. It's called hustle. So congrats, guys, and wishing you guys the best. And thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage HR Influencers Podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and our YouTube channel for new episodes.